Episode 6 of WandaVision. What another great episode. I think WandaVision has really started to massively hit its stride now. We've had a series of really good episodes, one after the other. As soon as it hit that stride of having half the episode be sitcom and half the episode be the real world, the quality of WandaVision has really improved. And I'm so excited to see what happens in the next episode. What a way to end. So let's go through it. I've made a few notes again, and let's just have a little chat about what went on. So we start off with a sitcom intro, early 2000s, Malcolm in the Middle style. It's going through a kind of light-hearted day, introducing all the characters. Agnes gets a prime position in the intro, which to me suggests that Wanda at least is considering her a prime character, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't think we've seen her in the intros before as a main character, but she's one now. And quite interestingly, the lyrics seem to almost mimic the perspective of the people trapped in the hex. Talked about it being chaos every day and to just let go with the flow and let it happen and be a part of it, because she's not going to stop, it's not going to change, so you might as well try and enjoy what you can of. Don't fight it, just let it happen. Which is quite interesting. They're giving us a bit of a perspective on what's going on for these people's minds. They're aware that we know that they're aware it's happening, and maybe subconsciously in the back of their minds they're fighting it the entire time. But I think that definitely confirms for me that these people are aware of what's happening, and they do know that there's an issue here and that Wanda's controlling them. And I thought it was a really good intro, really great kind of fun way to do the kind of early 2000s sitcom. So on to the twins. The twins are quite a big part of this episode. They get a few monologues to camera, and the show has definitely kind of focused onto the era of the kids, kind of particularly as I think sitcoms changed in the 2000s to be less about friends and family and more about the kids, more so than the parents. And I think that has definitely happened with the show as Billy and Tommy have kind of become a bigger part of the sitcom, more centralized character. And does that indicate that the twins are going to start having more control over the hex in the sitcom world? They've already had a bit of control of it in the previous episode, and in this episode Billy and Tommy get their powers of the hex magic and their super speed respectively, so they are now super powered as well as having already exerted some control over their aging process in the hex. So does that mean we're going to see more of that from them? Are they going to have more control? Is the control a separate thing from their actual powers, or is it some way related to Billy's hex powers? Who knows? I mean, his powers are basically the same as his mum's, but blue. So maybe his magic can counter or work on the same level as Wanda's magic. That'll be interesting to see. Pietro, he was a bigger part of the episode than I expected. When we first saw him at the end of the last episode, I kind of expected it to be a glorified cameo. He would come in, maybe do a few scenes in the next episode, and then he'd be cast off or whatever. But no, he's here for the long haul. I think he's going to stay with us for the rest of the show now. And he was quite an important character as well. He bonded with the kids, helped them with their power. He seemed to be asking all the right questions to get Wanda to think about how it started and why she did it. He gives her the affirmation she needs so that it's okay, and he pushes her to reveal how she's done this. What did she do with the kids? Did she have them asleep in their beds and everyone all together? He pushes her to have that kind of, to say, look, it's okay. I think it's cool what you've done. It's really impressive, really powerful. You never had this kind of power before. It's awesome. Like, how'd you do it? And that seems to give Wanda a bit more confidence to be like, I don't know how it started, but she definitely has full control over the hex now, which I thought was also quite interesting. Full control. Moving on to Wanda, she seems to be questioning Pietro, and she's unsure about him. She seems to have similar but different memories to Pietro, and she's kind of testing him, questioning how he came back, why he has a different face, why his accent's gone. And for me, that kind of starts to lean into the idea that potentially isn't someone mimicking Pietro. Perhaps it's someone using Pietro to try to push Wanda in a specific direction. But the fact that he has like the same memories of as her but different, it suggests to me that maybe it is a kind of a parallel universe thing, and he does just have, because it's a parallel world, the same but different memories. But in the same vein as that, obviously you also have the idea that we also have the aspect that he avoids some of the questions Wanda asks, as if he may not know what's going on. So I'm still a bit unsure about what's happening with Pietro. He seems to be a big part of things, but at the same time, is it actually Pietro? Is it an alternate world? Is it someone pretending to be him? Is it someone using him to get information from Wanda? It's difficult to know. So let's move on to the Vision. So for a lot of this episode, the Vision goes undercover and he's kind of exploring the hex and trying to figure out what's happening. He does that under the guise of the Neighborhood Watch, and he kind of wanders through Westview, seeing the residents that aren't directly in the vicinity of Wanda, and they're on like low power mode. It's kind of like in Rick and Morty when they go into the simulation and everyone's on 5% power, and it's really basic. And that's what's happening for the people that aren't in kind of like the center of town or near Wanda. But it's also kind of clear in the episode that his relationship with Wanda has really soured. You know, it kind of indicates that they've been arguing about what Wanda's been doing. Vision's questioning everything she does, but he's kind of playing it off as, oh, you know, I know, but what can I do about it, kind of thing. Yeah, like their relationship soured. The twins even mentioned that they've been off with each other recently, and it's kind of like they know what's going on, they know that Wanda's responsible, and they're just kind of not talking about it. Vision's going off and doing his own thing and trying to figure it out, but they're just not talking about it anymore. They're just avoiding it. And that makes me think that maybe in this next episode, after what happens to Vision at the end of this episode, if maybe we'll see that kind of all come to a head and Wanda and Vision kind of come into conflict with each other again. Especially now he's kind of gone against the rules. He went past Alice Avenue, which is something Wanda told the kids not to do. And that led to him kind of discovering the edge of the hex and trying to escape. So a couple of quick points about Sword. What is Hayward up to? Because he seems like he knows far more about what's happening with this than he's letting on. He's up to something. And we discover later on that he's tracking Vision. He's tracking Vision, and they have this secret project that he's been up to that we never actually get any glimpse of. It just gets emailed to Wu, clearly for a reveal later on down the line. So that's something big. We don't know what it is yet. We just know he's up to something. And again, why didn't Sword help Vision? He needed their help, but he didn't. And that was quite an interesting scene for me. The Vision finds the end of the anomaly. He tries to escape it. He goes out to see what happened, to see what's on the other side. He's coming out, and Sword and all the soldiers surround him. Just stand there watching him as Vision's like coming out of the hex. The hex is very clearly trying to pull him back in, and he's obviously fighting against it. Like really obviously fighting against it. He's reaching out to them. He's saying the people in here need your help. Help them. And Hayward just turns around and says, I don't think he wants to escape. Like, dude, the guy is like crawling his way out of this hex with all of his skin peeling off and something pulling him back in, and you're just gonna stand there like, I don't think he wants to be let out of it. Don't help him, guys. He doesn't really want out. That to me seemed off. That seemed to me as if Hayward and Sword want Vision in there. Now, is that because after getting control of his body, they've done something to him and they may be able to exert control over him if they want to know what's going on in there, and they're using him to find that out? This secret project we saw was called Cataracts, so maybe they have some program or something that lets them see from his eyes and they're able to see what's going on. It's quite interesting, and that was kind of the big takeaway for me from this episode. That, and the fact that Wanda freezes everything in the hex and then massively expands the hex. Now, that for me does a few things. That 100% confirms for me that Wanda is in control of the hex. She has the power. Whatever it is, she's doing it. Her eyes glow red. She freezes everything. And the hex expands. It expands to encompass Vision. But then it also expands to encompass the sword base and a lot of the surrounding countryside, which I thought was, you know, maybe she doesn't have full control over it. Maybe it's more powerful than she expects. But it seemed weird that she would need to expand it so much. Maybe she's just doing that to try and just get Sword out of her way. Doesn't have to deal with them anymore if they're in the hex. But that's weird. So a few things in this episode I think were confirmed for me. Agnes, we saw that she was definitely under Wanda's control. Vision does the same thing he did with Norm, where he touches her with the Mind Stone and it frees her from Wanda's control. She confirms that Vision is dead, that, you know, he specifically says Wanda won't let us leave. And then she does his witch's laugh. And for me, the witch's laugh seemed like an intentional red herring, almost as if it had been put, it was a bit out of place, but it was almost as if that witch's laugh had been put in there in order to throw us off, to make us think, oh, she's a witch, we can put that in the trailer and, you know, everyone's going to go crazy thinking she's a witch or something. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think she is. I think Wanda has full control over this, and I think maybe people like Agnes, who have a little bit more freedom and seem to be a bit more aware of what's going on and are playing more of a main character role in the show, are potentially people where Wanda's subconscious is manifesting in order to either try and control what Wanda's doing or kind of therapize Wanda and give her the option to deal with situations that make her confront what she's done and think about how she's doing things. It makes her subconscious Pietro, it makes it question, why did you do this? How did you do it? Why? At least you were ethical about it. It subconsciously gives Agnes more power within the hex, and that makes her question things like the resurrection, can you do it? Can you do it more? But then it also points that maybe there is people behind the scenes altering things. But I think we're getting a bit late into the show to start being like, oh, all this stuff's happened. Oh, by the way, we've got an episode left. It was all this person's fault. I don't think that's going to be quite that fun. I don't think it's going to be enjoyable, especially when we're building it up for it to be Wanda, And there's that great build-up of tension there being that, yeah, this could all just be Wanda's fault and she's just broken and can't deal with these things. But it also does raise for me a few more questions. So, for instance, does Wanda expanding the hex weaken her control over it? Is it a case of her power over that hex is absolute? Or is it a case that she only has so much power and the larger that hex is, the weaker her control is over, aspects that are further away from her or, don't require as much attention? Does that also indicate that twins will have more control over the hex now that it's bigger? Maybe they can use their power a bit more to exert control. Going back a little bit, in the Yo Magic advert, the shark speaks in a quite similar manner to Pietro, and he says he's feeding on your magic and that it's the feast of survivor. Well, Pietro's a survivor. He survived being shot. He comes with this shark-like attitude, a shark-like manner of speaking, and maybe I've been wrong about it being actually Pietro and Wanda in control. Maybe it is someone that's feeding on Wanda's power, feeding on her magic, and is now taken the form of Pietro to do so, to be close to us, to do so. We also get the idea that the hex is rewriting Monica's DNA. So will Monica and possibly some of the other residents develop powers? Have they had their mutant genes unlocked, perhaps? What did Darcy discover Hayward was up to with Vision? Why did no one help Vision? That is my main question. Why didn't anyone help Vision? If Vision can't leave the hex, can the kids and Pietro not leave either? And why did Wanda expand the hex by such a large amount? So they're the questions I have. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode of this time. It's been a few days. I've not quite had as many thoughts about this episode as I have previous episodes. A big thing happened at the end with the hex being expanded, but I feel like other than that, not too much happened that there is to really talk about in the episode. We got a little bit with Vision and what happened there. Basically, like the last few minutes of the episode is where everything happened. But yeah, so hopefully in the next couple of episodes we'll have more to talk about, big things happening. I'll be able to get these episodes out a little quicker. I always feel like I've got more to talk about if I get the episode out straight away. But thanks for watching. Bye.